Meechie. The other night, you hit the three in the first half when they had gone on a 12-0 run. You hit a three late when they were trying to get back in the game. Where's your confidence level in those moments of taking shots when your team needs somebody to make a play?
My confidence level is high. It's always high at all times. I just try to be that shot maker, that playmaker that my team need me to be. So in those late moments, I'm just ready for it. If it come my way, I'm gonna do whatever I can to, get a bucket, make a play, to, just do something to help us. Break that sweat that we was going on.
On the first one in the first half, well, when I asked Coach Holtman about it after the game, he said there were a couple of reads there, and you obviously made the right read. What are you looking for in a moment like that when you're deciding, like, obviously it was a big moment, someone needed to make a play. What are you looking for in that moment to decide whether you pass, whether you shoot? What are your keys in a moment like that?
Really just a feel. Been playing basketball a long time, so just the feel of the game, the feel of how being guarded. If they got their hands down and they're baiting me to shoot it, I'll shoot it. If they over helping and somebody's open, you just make the right pass. It's nothing, no rocket science to it. Just making the right play, and if something's there, you just take it. You gotta be confident and hopefully it go in.
We talked to you before the season. We talked to you after the Xavier game. Since the start of the year, how have you seen more playing time, more of those situations Adam's talking to you about, help your game grow? Where have you kind of felt like you're starting to develop this season?
Starting to develop a lot since the beginning of the season to now. Just every game I'm building confidence and getting better and just learning. I've had some rough games in there, but every game you just go back, you watch the tape, and you come out, you be better for the next game. It's a long season, and every game I'm just getting better and learning. Confidence is steady growing and getting better.
Meechie, obviously, I mean, you played some Big Ten big games last year for these guys, but I'm curious about, whether it's with the new guys, whether it's with Malachi. I mean, did the Big Ten atmosphere, did the physicality, was it what you guys expected from Penn State? What did you learn from just playing that first Big Ten game this year?
Yeah, every Big Ten game is going to be a challenge. Everybody's going to come out there and be aggressive, be physical with us. We're Ohio State. People want to beat us. We're coming off a big win, so yeah, it was very much what we expected. Penn State's also a new team too, so they're learning and growing in some areas as well. But yeah, we expect every game, every Big Ten game to be hard and challenging. It's going to be tough, and we just got to be ready for it.
And to kind of have, I mean, whether it's it's a non-conference game before another Big Ten game against Wisconsin. What is preparation like for this game, especially with such a huge game against the Badgers here next week? I mean, is it different? How do you kind of make sure that there's not kind of that lull or letdown in between these
Right.
two big games?
You just continue to prepare hard as a team. You stay connected. You pay very close attention to detail. Like you said, it's a short time, like 3 games in a matter of 1 week. So with that being said, you're just like I said, you're paying very close attention to detail. You make sure you're glued in. You're listening to coach and practice. Because like you said, you don't want to have a upset or loss like that between a big game coming up. Towson's a very good team. They just beat Kent State very, very good last night at their house. So with that being said, we just gotta be ready. We take it one game at a time, and we know as a team that you got a team like that coming in here, they're gonna give their all. This is their championship. Like we gotta be on our p's and q's.
What concerns you about Towson?
Honestly, I haven't seen the film on them yet. I don't know so much of what they do good or bad. But with that being said, I didn't see they lost. I think the Pitt by 4 points. They've been in some very good games. Their coach said they're a very good team. Actually, like a week or two ago, coach actually told us like, this stretch for us is going to be tough, and he's challenged us as a team to see how we are made and how we respond coming from Xavier to Florida to just to all of this stuff, man. Like I said, I haven't seen the film on Towson yet, but just seeing how they did Kent State, who's also a good team, yesterday at their house. They're coming in our house tomorrow, and we just gotta be ready for it.
You were talking a moment ago about watching your own film. I remember talking to you when you were rehabbing your injury, and you talked about watching game film. Has that always just been sort of a staple of what you are as a player, and maybe where did the desire to always be looking for that kind of feedback and stuff? Where does that come from?
Man, just my dad, when I was younger, we just always watched film. We always studied the game, went to games, And like that's kind of the only way I can see what I didn't do good or what I could have did better. Like I said, I done had some games where I could have been better, could have shot better, could have played better, made better decisions. And sometimes coaches is telling me this and that, and I don't see it from because I'm in the game. And the only way to see it is to go back and watch it. And like I said, I just study film so much. Like I'm watching 3-4 games on the team we play. Like I said, I haven't watched Towson yet, but we'll study them hard tonight. And with that being said, that's I feel like that's the best way to prepare yourself going into a game.
Meechie, Kyle obviously hit 4 threes the other day. What can it do for you guys when a guy like that, who we're not necessarily expecting him to hit all these threes, can step out and hit threes? And also, Coach talks about how Kyle's actually one of the better three-point shooters on the team, like in practice. Is that actually true? And how much can that help the team?
Oh man, Kyle's a great shooter. I was actually thinking about that after the game. Like, this guy's been here for a long time, but man, he's the anchor of our team. Like, what can't he do? He can guard, he can defend, rebound, and with his size and length, he can knock it down and he can shoot. He's definitely one of the best shooters on the team, as you can see. I remember last year's game. I think it was Illinois or Purdue. I forget which game he got hurt in, but he kept us in that game early. Where just knocking down some threes and shots. And like I said, man, Kyle's a great shooter. He's the anchor of our team, man. When you got a guy like him who's been here, you can't ask for anything better.
And how much did that Cedric Russell's big performance against Duke, how much have you seen that change maybe his confidence in the last week or so?
Oh man, a huge jump. That was good for Cedric. He's always a confident player. Ever since he's been here, he's been that confident player that I've seen since I saw him. He's always taking big shots whenever he's in the game. And Mr. Make, he's going to keep shooting, man. That's just Cedric. And I love that about him. He's a great dude, man. And I think going forward, he's going to continue to be confident, and I hope he does.
Meechie, how have you grown through this first couple of weeks of the season?
Man, I've grown a lot. I've had some, like I said, I've had some big games where it was big for me, and I had some games that was like, what the heck, man? Like, but that's basketball, man. It's a long season. I see that, and I just know that the player that I am, I just got to continue to be better. I just got to continue, like I said, to watch the film and put the work in. Like, maybe some games I didn't put the as many shots up as I should have, or I didn't watch enough film, or I didn't, do what I should have to be ready or prepared for that game. And like Coach told me, I'm young. It's going to be a long season with ups and downs, but I'm just trying to limit as many as I can and be the best player that I can for my team to help us win. So, with that being said, I grow every game, I grow every practice, and, I'm just learning, and I just want to continue to get better.
You can tell me if this is a fair read on you, but you've got a really aggressive style, which can sometimes lead to game winners against Seton Hall, but they can also mean jump passes that end up being turnovers, and all that comes kind of with that. I've asked Holtman about this. I'll ask you. Dwayne was kind of like that early in his career and even late in his career. Watching him kind of go through that, learning the balance of when it's time to make a play and when it's time to kind of not be conservative, but just kind of let the defense come to you. As you watched him kind of battle that, how have you learned from that early on?
You learn a lot. That's a great point. When you're aggressive, you're going to make mistakes. If I went out there and I just passed the ball and didn't try to be aggressive, nothing would probably never happen. So, like you said, man, with being aggressive comes game winners, come big shots, and also comes some mistakes and turnovers. And with that being said, I have to, be better. I have to limit those, and I have to continue to learn. And I learned a lot from Dwayne, just learning how he was able to sometimes limit those mistakes, and then how he made mistakes. And with me being a young player, you just go and watch that tape. I watch a lot of tape with Dwayne too, because I play his role. I play sometimes C.J. Walker role from last year. So I go back, we play in Wisconsin. I'm going to go back and watch the game from Wisconsin last year and see what Dwayne and C.J. did and try to be better in those areas to try to limit some of those mistakes that they made. But, like you said, man, me being an aggressive player, mistakes happen, and I'm just trying to limit those mistakes. And, I learned a lot from those guys.
Like you and Kyle are kind of in that same level of rotation where, coming off the bench but still playing kind of level of starters minutes. And I'm curious about how that affects your head, like especially coming into a game not knowing what the situation could be. I mean, does that require more versatility? Like, knowing that you're going to play starters minutes coming off the bench, where's your head at with that? Is that something you have to get more comfortable with?
I've been a starter my whole life. Coming to college, obviously, it's been different coming off the bench, but you can't honestly, you can't worry about that type of stuff, man. You just got to be ready. You're a basketball player. You work hard. You prepare for these moments. Like, you never know what's going to come, starter or coming off the bench. So, as a team, we know that if we play 4 or 5 minutes, you just got to be the best in that role and be productive. You can't worry and get caught in your own feelings and worry about if I'm a starter or a bench player, what's going to happen in the game, how it's going to go for me. Me being an aggressive player, sometimes I make a lot of stuff happen for myself or for my teammates. So, I just go in there with the mindset of you know what, you got to come in there, you got to be aggressive, got to make some plays, got to be a playmaker, and go from there. But I don't know. I never know how the game is going to go. Being a bench player or a starter, I honestly don't worry about it.
I mean, when you have come into games, does your mindset shift? Like you're like, okay, Chris needs me to be a defensive guy, focus on this, or ignite an offense, kind of distribute. I mean, does your mindset change, or is it kind of just all aggressive all the time, no matter when I come in?
Oh no, 100%. I know that going into these games, when we watch film as a team, I watch film myself. I know that. Okay, for example, Duke. I know that I'm going to have to be an aggressive player. I want to make some plays, but they also have a projected top 10 pick, Trevor Kills. I'm going to be on him some. Wendell Moore, he's a great player. I'm going to be on him some. So I know that, okay, I'll be aggressive, but I also need to be ready to play some defense. I need to be ready to try to limit these guys. We have I think as a team, everybody get a Buckeye if we can keep the team below 38%. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm trying to keep my man below 38% to help us win. So every game, you go in knowing that this is what I'm going to have to do this game. And then also being on the bench, you kind of get to see how the game is going before you come in. All right, we're struggling right now to score. I may need to come in there and be a little extra aggressive to try to get in the paint, create something for myself and for my teammates. This shooting guard, point guard is scoring a lot. I need to come in the game and be ready to defend him and stop him from scoring. So really just, you have a mindset going into the game of how you need to play, but sometimes it's really just with the flow of the game.
In your personal mindset when it comes to defense, how have these late games when the leads may shrink a little bit and it gets a little tense on the court, how have they helped the team in terms of defense? How have you evaluated Ohio State's defense down the stretch in games and being able to close them out?
You talking about our defense?
Yeah, as a team.
As a team? Oh, man. I feel like that's something we struggled with last year, if I'm answering this correctly, closing games. Late in the season, I feel like something that we struggled a lot last year, closing games and defending and letting teams come back. Penn State started to come back a little bit the other night, and we had to lock in. It was our first road game with a couple young guys and not as experienced. So we just prepare for those moments, man. We go over a lot of late game situations in practice, but within those huddles and tight that game, we come in there and say, yo, we gotta get stops. Right now, we're not getting stops. We're letting them come back. We should be up by 20 right now. I mean, you look at the Florida game, we was up 10 points, so I think about 12, 15 minutes left. We had some turnovers late, but, we was letting them score. We wasn't getting back in transition. So we just, every game we get better and we get tighter and we know, what we have to do to win. And I think that will help us close games if I answered that correctly. Appreciate it.
How many Buckeyes do you got?
I think I got 3.
Yeah, 3.
I have 3. I think Jamari the only. If you get 5, you get.
Yes.
Good.
How do? I know you're heavily involved in the recruiting aspect of everything you guys are doing as a staff. Just what's been the upshot a week later of beating Duke, and what are you hearing from the kids you have committed, the kids that you're trying to track down? I know you guys were out on the road last week. Just any response that, hey, this is a big thing for you guys that you were able to pull that off?
I think absolutely we want to capitalize off of any big win, and certainly when you play in this league, you're going to have opportunities for big wins. The way Coach Holtman schedules, we're going to have opportunities for big wins in the non-conference. So I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a little extra, in the conversations and things post those type of wins as far as recruiting goes. And I think the response is, obviously our committed guys were really excited. They were all tuned in and locked into that game. And they're excited to be a part of those type of games. It's something, those type of games, both non-conference and conference, are things we talk about a lot in recruiting. But yes, it was, those conversations were a little bit easier after a game like that.
And the flip side of that, you guys have been on a little bit of a roll here with the wins that you put up in recent weeks. Just you see a result like Texas Southern beating Florida last night on their court, a team that you guys played, Florida. You don't want to give back any of that momentum stubbing your toe against a Towson or whoever it may be. You play New Orleans a little bit later on. Just not to take these teams lightly or anything, just what's your thought about you can't let up regardless of the fact this isn't a ranked team you're playing tomorrow night?
Yeah, first off, Towson's a really good team. Although they're not ranked, they are a really good team, and all the metrics say they're a really good team. In college basketball this season, it seems like more than typical seasons, we're reminded multiple times a week that, you can't take anybody lightly. I think you can, be interesting to know how this year compares to years in the past of teams, losing to teams that many may view that they shouldn't lose to. But I think our guys are reminded, it's something we talk about, not taking anybody lightly when they come in here or whether we're on the road or whatever. But the reminders are out there every week. It's been that case all season long, really, that serves as a great, reminder to our guys that every single team is capable of beating you on any given night. And you got to bring your best stuff, and you got to find a way to execute and be about the details and all those things, regardless of who you're playing.
When it comes to your defense, you guys, outside of the Niagara game, have not let teams shoot very well from the perimeter. Has that been a point of emphasis, or is that just kind of how some of these games have played out?
Yeah, we've changed some things up, as far as schemes go on the defensive side this year, and part of that we felt like would help put our personnel in better situations. One of the things we talk about a lot on that side is we want to contest every shot. We're trying to, limit the amount of times we have to be in rotation to where teams are getting those open looks. But guys are held accountable for not contesting. I think we've put even more we've intensified the focus on that, and I think it's helped. We certainly want to, the three-point shot is the great equalizer in college basketball, and we certainly want to limit, the amount of good looks, and with some players, even the amount of not so good looks that they can get off. So I think we've made some adjustments to our scheme to fit our personnel this year, and that's certainly one of them.
How much of that in the offseason was it a point of emphasis? Because obviously, the defensive struggles last year were well documented, and it wasn't just three-point shooting. But when you were trying to figure out how this team would look and what you guys could do, how much was that a point of emphasis?
Yeah, it was. We are looking into the numbers, this offseason. We evaluated games we lost and why we lost and the struggles we had on the defensive side of the ball, and we took all of that into consideration as we kind of put our scheme together this year. The one thing I think Coach Holtman does an elite job at is he tweaks his system on both sides of the ball from year to year. You can't look at Ohio State and say, well, they play the exact same way this year that they did last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that because we're constantly trying to put our guys in situations to be successful. That's obvious offensively, but certainly on the defensive side of the ball too.
To that end, on defense, Meechie just told us that everybody gets a Buckeye if you guys hold an opponent under 38% shooting. Can you talk, is that a new thing, or is that, what other incentives you guys have for defensive performance like that?
I'll take 38. I've been giving them 40 and a win. But we felt like going into this year, we had to raise our level of accountability on that side of the ball. Depth has been a strength for us, especially obviously with some of the injuries we've dealt with. But, it's been a strength for us. So I think that allows you to really stress accountability too. And that's something we've wanted to do on the defensive side of the ball. And I think guys deserve to be rewarded when they execute a game plan very well. We actually grade guys individually. It's a little bit of a football model. you know, in that regard, but we're grading guys individually on their defensive performance after every game. That stuff is announced to the team. You know, it's just those forms of accountability, and our guys have kind of they've grabbed a hold of that and take a lot of pride in getting one of those Buckeyes. So, yeah, it's been fun to see the importance put on that. I'm glad he mentioned that.
And then Kyle Young obviously hitting 4 threes the other night. A coach said on the radio too that he's actually one of the best shooters on the team in terms of practice and things like that. What does it do for the team when a guy like that's not necessarily expected to come in hitting a bunch of threes hits those threes? And what have you seen of him in practice? Hitting shots like that too.
Yeah, we expect him to do that. Now, obviously, 4 for 4 is great. I don't know if it's fair to put that on anybody game in and game out, but we expect him to make shots, and I think it opens up the floor for us offensively in ways that we might not have when he's not on the court. His size and ability to bring defenders away from the rim, to give space for guys to drive, to allow us to run some different wrinkles offensively is critical, and we need him to shoot more. I mean, we want him to be aggressive. He's got the green light. I know Coach has said it. I'll echo it. He has been one of our most consistent shooters. We chart shooting drills. We chart stats in practice, and he has performed for a long stretch. This isn't something that he just started doing this fall. It's something he's done a long stretch. We believe in his ability to shoot the ball, and he's had some big games. Obviously, going back into last year, and then our last one Sunday.
Obviously, because you've worked with Meechie, going back to last year, obviously he's got an aggressive style of play where his game winners, but then also a lot of turnovers that probably could have been prevented. How have you seen that aspect of his game kind of mature and kind of knowing when to pick his spots and time and place to be ultra aggressive like that?
Yeah, Meechie's obvious. His speed is an obvious gift, right? That's something that you can't teach. But I think even going back to guards that I've worked with in the past, you'd much rather have a guy that you have to slow down than a guy that you have to speed up. And one of the things we work on, we really work on in the offseason and we work on throughout the course of the year is playing at different speeds. And the reality is, I think, Meechie is still, quote unquote, a freshman, and there's a process to master that. I think you look at Dwayne. It took Dwayne to his junior year before he really mastered being able to change speeds and kind of control his defender. So I think Meechie's made really good strides. He's a student of the game, loves to watch film, spends time in the gym. And I think there's going to be moments where it's going to look like this year he's mastered it, and then there's going to be moments where, it might not look that way. And I think we got to remember that it's a process. He embraces that. He's kind of leaned into that. And there's times where he's going to hit some home runs out there, and maybe times where he gets out of control. But I think as long as he continues to show growth in those areas, which I know he will, it's going to really serve him well individually and serve our team well.
I know we live in this world of positionless basketball, but because of what his style of play is, where is he better at, on the ball or off the ball, as far as being a guard?
Yeah, I don't know if it's fair to say where he's better at. I think we just have to acknowledge that he can do both. His speed with the ball is a gift, but he's also fast off the ball, creating space, whether it's coming off screening actions or lifting and some of the spacing we have, and that puts people in closeout situations. When you can play off the ball and put someone in a closeout situation, that's going to serve Meechie really well. If a guy's trying to close out, because he could shoot, he can really shoot it, and obviously he can drive it. So I think our ability to move him around, to both on and off the ball is going to be a good thing for him and for us. Yeah, it's been good for us.
When that is one of your guards who is that explosive, it was kind of like this with Dwayne and CJ last year, does the other guard have to be more quarterbackish, more point guard, more of a distributor, just to kind of offset that a little bit? Does Jamari have to be a little bit more conservative as far as being aggressive, looking for a shot?
Yeah, I think you want to have balance out of your perimeter, certainly. But Jamari has showed, a couple games this year that he's a capable scorer too, and we need him to be aggressive. I think the balance you look for is good decision making. Having different paced guys out there is valuable, certainly at times, but we want our guards to be aggressive. All of them. That we got to make really good decisions when we are. And I think that's probably the more important thing is we got to continue to grow in that area. And Jamari has proven to be an elite decision maker, based upon his assist to turnover ratio this year. And, Meechie has grown from last year to the beginning of the season to where we are now, and Malachi's grown in that area. And, Cedric can, gives you something different when he checks in at the guard position. Jimmy, the same thing. So I like the fact that we have different type of players that we could put in and create some balance. But I think all of them have to be aggressive, and then we got to evaluate, are we making the right decision when we are?
We've talked about Meechie a lot, and I'm curious about how have you seen him grow over the course of this year, especially defensively, especially with the kind of him being side by side with Jamari every day, and kind of learning from him in the defensive style that he provides. How have you seen him grow? How have you seen Malachi grow in the same vein?
Yeah, well certainly Jamari, going up against Jamari every day in practice will help you improve your ball handling. His ability to pressure the ball is special. But I think, you're talking about a guy who's been in college 5 years, versus a guy who's really in his first year, multiple guys who are in their first year. So there's, little things throughout practice in film that they're able to pick up on. We work out, a lot with guys individually, but we'll also work out Jamari and Meechie together, or Malachi and EJ together. So you have guys, an upperclassman and an underclassman, and those upperclassmen have a voice in those workouts, and they're talking through things. So I think the constant communication that exists within our team for our older guys and younger guys has been very beneficial to kind of help those young guys along. Because let's be honest, it's hard to make a transition from high school to college at this level. It's really hard, and everybody's transition looks a little different. That adjustment looks a little different for each guy. So I think our young guys, Malachi and Meechie both, and I think you can throw in our sophomores too, have all progressed well. We got to keep doing that, but their willingness to learn and hear out and give an ear to our upperclassmen, and the fact that we got great upperclassmen has certainly been beneficial.
Jamari's just that, fifth-year senior, that his final year in college basketball, this defensive stalwart that you guys bring in to kind of represent this change in mentality. And I'm curious about the reason why I'm asking is, is that something that, say, Meechie, Malachi, or the guys coming up, is that something you expect them to continue to kind of take on, maybe not the skill that Jamari has, because obviously that's developed over time, but is that something that you kind of expect? You're like, okay, learn from this guy so you can teach it to other guys moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we do a lot of is we watch film together as a team. And, when Coach is speaking to Jamari in that clip or speaking to EJ in that clip, he's speaking to everybody. So film's such a valuable tool, and I think our young guys have dedicated a lot of time to utilizing that to help their game. And there's certainly things throughout the course of a game that a guy on the court may make a great play or make a mistake, and then you'll see guys on our staff go talk to guys on the bench to kind of, exaggerate that point. So it happens during the course of the game, happens post-game, happens in prep and practice. But we got really good guys on our team, and there's an eagerness to learn. And I think that's why you see some of these guys growing at the rate they're growing.
Jake, did Coach Keith Diebler have to slow you down or speed you up when you were playing?
Yeah, there wasn't those of you who know my dad, there wasn't much slowing down. It was go hard all the time, as hard as you can, and I love him for that. I pay for it when I wake up in the morning. But yeah, I didn't learn that till I got to college, where I had to learn to slow down. But yeah, there wasn't any slowing down in my house.
Seriously though, with this defense this year, you've been able to sprinkle in some zone, you've sprinkled in some pressure, and I assume maybe Jamari has something to do with some of that. But what have you seen as the benefits of that when you've been able to throw some of those things out of teams for a couple of possessions, and maybe stuff we haven't seen? Ohio State hasn't played much zone in a long time. And I know it's not a staple, but it's a changeup you could throw.
Yeah, I think we're constantly evaluating throughout the flow of the game how we can keep the other team off balance offensively. And sometimes, that may be sprinkling in a little bit of zone. It may be varying our levels of pressure. Jamari is a weapon. That's been well documented, even when he was in an opposing jersey in this building. So we want to keep him off balance. And, without giving our guys too much to kind of, we want them to play free, want them to be disciplined. We don't want them overthinking out there either. So there's a balance there, but we want to try and, be a little bit unpredictable at times during the flow of the game.
And I think when you've done some of that full court pressure, you've had Malachi in there, maybe at the front, if I'm remembering right. I know Coach Holtman was talking about his 6'10" wingspan, but what kind of defensive ability does he give you, and what does maybe the future potential for growth look like there with a guy that has his athletic ability and a wingspan like that?
Yeah, Malachi has great physical tools. The thing that's impressed me most about him on the defensive side of the ball is he has really good instincts. Now, he'll get a little jumpy at times and maybe lose his attention to detail at times, but when he does do that, he then is allowed to show his ability to recover, and I think that's what makes him, special and gets me excited about his potential as a defender. He's got great instincts. His length and physical tools allow him to make up for mistakes, which, those things you can't teach.
Just coming into the season with these guards, not all young guys, but a lot of new guys at the very least, how did that kind of change your guys' game plan of how we're going to do things when you're working with freshmen, you're working with veterans, but veterans coming to a new system? Even Jimmy didn't get a full year last year here. How did that change the approach this year with a whole new set of guards?
Yeah, we had to get back to basics. I think even going back to our individual workouts this summer, and again, Coach and Coach Peden deserve a lot of credit for, adjusting our offensive style or our offensive plays, our scheme, like all those things that they're constantly evaluating how they can put our guys in the best situation. The reality is we can't do some of the same stuff we might have done with Dwayne and CJ because they have been in our program for so long. So we have, they've found other ways to put guys in great situations that fit their skill set or fit their experience level. But I think the one thing that we're trying to focus on with our perimeter is continuing growth throughout the course of the season. We don't want to stop growing just because the season's arrived or just because Big Ten play started. We want to continue to grow throughout the course of the year, and I think that'll be important for us and our team as we go through our schedule, that they're continuing to improve and get more comfortable. But there's no question, you're seeing it all across college basketball, the benefit of experience. Not all experience is created equal, right? Some experience is within your program for 4 or 5 years. Some experience is from another program that you're, just getting for a short-term time. So I think, we're just constantly evaluating how we can put our current roster in great situations and then making sure we're growing throughout the course of the year, especially on the perimeter.
You talk quite a bit about Jamari's intensity and defensive intensity. What are the young guys teaching him and teaching you guys about that? Because, there's a certain level of, almost ignorance is bliss when it comes to intensity on defense and being young and all of that comes with it. Like, what are they teaching Jamari, and what do you think they're teaching you right now about defensive intensity?
Yeah, great question. I think they're teaching me patience, teaching me some patience at times. But, the one thing I love about this group is when we've been really good, we've erred on the side of aggressive. And I think our young guys have helped set that tone, certainly. Whether it's offensive or defensive, they've been aggressive, and their mistakes have been aggressive. And Jamari certainly can benefit and has benefited from being, seeing other guys be aggressive because he's got to be aggressive. So, yeah, me personally, patience, and making sure we're keeping it simple. But I love the aggressiveness that we've been able to play with on that side of the ball. And I think a lot of that has been, obviously, Jamari has helped with that, but a lot of that's been some of our younger guys that have helped, raise that, which we weren't necessarily able to do last year a lot. Thanks, guys.